Hi, I'm Brian, our Director of Architecture here at Chef, and I'm joined by John Ong, our Principal User Experience Designer. Before we get into the session, let's share a little bit about ourselves. Is that okay, John?
Sounds good. First of all, I'm John. Nice to meet you all. And as Brian mentioned, I'm a Principal User Experience Designer here at Progress Chef. I've been part of the Chef family for over 10 years. I joined way back in the day when we were originally called OpsCode. In my spare time, I'm either traveling to my next scuba destination or out wine tasting in one of Washington State's many wine regions. But that's enough about me. Brian?
Thanks, John. I'm still Brian. I've been in software architecture ever since my Microsoft days and have been here at Chef for a little over a year, working on the platform transformation. A couple personal things about me. I didn't start out my career in software. I started off as an officer in the Air Force planning satellite missions. I do play a little bit of classical guitar, and I'm a big Peloton enthusiast. We want to welcome you to our session on the new micro front-end user interface. Wow, that's a mouthful. Let's unpack it for you over the next 45. Basically, we're going to show a new project we've been working on, why it's important, and a little bit of our roadmap for the future. John's here to talk about the user experience design that's helped fuel the effort and get us started down that right path.
And Brian is going to take us on a guided tour, talking about realizing this new set of experiences initially focused on the cloud compliance journey. This session is for anyone interested in the cloud journey, compliance, potential customers of the upcoming hosted offerings, or even anyone building their own user interfaces or integrations with the Chef backend platform. Let's jump on in.
This is a rough outline for the content we're going to show in this session, starting with a little bit of motivation, followed by atomic design, basically our guiding principles in building this set of applications, a demo of the cloud compliance journey you saw in the keynote earlier, knock on wood that everything goes okay there, followed by a quick bit on the technical underpinnings and where we hope you will see this evolving as it becomes a bigger part of the Chef portfolio.
Speaking of motivation, don't we already have a user interface for Chef? Why a new one? Why now?
That's a great question. We certainly have a number of different user interfaces right now: Chef Workstation, Automate, even Manage. Not to mention that the community has built more to leverage parts of the Chef platform. That's really the root of why we wanted to start this effort now. People want to get to the core value cases quicker, and our different internal development efforts either had to be command line only or wait a long time on resources to get to innovative customer value and be able to ship. It's about building a flexible framework which gives consistent access to the APIs on the back end, like Knife does, but in a rich visual experience, improving ease of use and cutting through the noise on large customer deployments by getting to actionable results more quickly.
So many questions. Are we talking about cloud hosted, or will this be on-premise with our customers?
Sure. Right now we're in the early days, but it's not a stretch to see this in hosted Chef solutions, in customers' cloud subscriptions, and also on-prem in both a virtual machine layout as well as in a container version.
So does that mean that customers will be able to build their own experiences in this micro front-end world?
Another great question which has come up a lot. Let's hold that one for later in the talk. What I can say is we're going to show a little bit of personalization in the demo and show how many different types of journeys are supported in this new set of technologies. How about we start at the beginning and look at specific value cases we're thinking of applying here. Here we are listing some of the anticipated benefits of this project in the Chef ecosystem. It's not exhaustive, but we thought it would be good to show at the beginning of this session so that you can look for these themes as we get into the theory and the demo. At Chef, we have multiple UI developers spread thinly across a growing number of cloud-hosted and downloadable products. We also have a number of back-end technologies for each observability layer, some of which are getting close to end of life, and many of which have specific functionality which can't be shared with the others. Never heard that before. Our goal is to find an extensible platform which gives us an ability to modernize some of these very useful products on those legacy platforms, land new platform services on, create an efficient development process for usability innovation, and provide something our customers can fundamentally do their mission more effectively with. So look for these in the upcoming presentation. Over to you, John.
Atomic design is a methodology that allows us to create a robust design system that will allow us to roll out higher quality and more consistent UIs. The method is used to classify UI elements into 5 hierarchies: atoms, molecules, organisms, templates, and pages. The atom, being the most basic building block, are usually made up of native HTML elements. Examples are buttons and input fields. Molecules are combinations of atoms. Say, for instance, you put a label and a text input, and that becomes a molecule. Organisms are much more complex structures, and templates and pages are just a way to organize all these atomic elements and put them together. Here at Progress Chef, our process for creating these atomic elements in the micro front-end UI is orchestrated by a team of cross-functional UX designers and engineers. We have a domain UX designer whose main responsibility is to solve for a user's main task, or better known as creating the user journey. The core platform UX designer takes on many roles. These roles can be a UI designer, accessibility evangelist, a graphic designer, and is even a domain designer to some extent. They own and oversee the atomic elements. In some circles, they are known to be called the Design Ops team. And finally, we have the app engineer, who works with the core platform UX designer to build these atomic elements. Let's walk through this process. The first step, the domain UX designer solves for the business and user needs. Conducting research and creating artifacts such as lean UX canvases, affinity mapping, and user journeys allows them to create their wireframes so that they can validate and test their designs with their customers and product teams. After we have tested and agreed on a solid solution, the domain designer then hands the wireframes to our core platform UX designer. The core UX designer then identifies all the elements within the wireframe and classifies them as atomic elements, from atoms, molecules, organisms, templates, and so forth, like you see at the slide right here. Any new elements identified that have not already been created will start the process for creating a new component in the micro front-end UI. The core platform designer examines a new element and decides with the team if it needs to become a new micro front-end UI component. If it is a new component, they then apply the necessary themes and create a Figma component within a shared Figma asset library. Figma is a collaborative tool that we use in our UX group. That component then can be used in the future by domain designers to create more high-fidelity wireframes. After the atomic element is classified and created in Figma, the core platform UX designer then uses a tool called Progress Unite to export files to our engineers, who then build a working version that can be accessed in the micro front-end UI platform. So now, we'd like to turn it over to a demonstration and see these concepts in action.
Thanks. Yes. Let's demo some of this in the new user interface. We're going to show this in 4 parts. First, we're going to log in and show the details in the easy cloud compliance scenario that Prashant showed in his keynote. Then we'll show 3 of the aspects which we think will be useful to customers and partners in this effort. A screen we're calling right now our API Explorer. We're going to show off also some personalization we're building in. And we're going to finish with how easy it is to run the new user interface in a container. Let's jump on in. Here we are on the login screen, and already we notice some changes. Since we envisioned this being the user interface for both on-prem and cloud-hosted environments, we've configured this to allow the user to log in with either traditional local chef credentials or with federated OAuth, sometimes called single sign-on credentials. For multi-tenant installations, this will provide the single sign-on options for the given organization. You can see the Microsoft Azure connectivity shown on this screen. We're also adding a reCAPTCHA and other protections for security in the cloud. The fonts and icons, all the atomic design objects, now come from a shared library which can be personalized to the organization and the user. The main reason for this is to make the system easy to use and to be able to find what we're looking for quickly. If buttons look the same way, if they have the same text, if they have the same parameters and inputs that are required, we'll be able to find that a lot easier because we have standard metaphors across the application. Basically, this accelerates time to value, finding the tasks we want to do, and easily going through a single journey rather than hunting around for the various steps or spending a lot of time configuring features. We'll click Login via single sign-on. In this case, our Progress Azure Active Directory, and we'll get right into the application. Here's another change. Right after login, we get a dialog which gives us some quick actions to take, specific frequently used journeys. It is dismissible, but we're going to jump right into doing a cloud compliance scan of some of our AWS EC2 instances. That's the link here in the lower left corner. No traversing menus, and as we'll see, no configuration needed up front. We'll discover the assets we need along the way. Here we're at a wizard page, which guides us through the three-step process to doing a cloud compliance scan. Without having to leave this page, we will choose the target nodes we want to run the scan against, choose the profiles we want to apply to these resources, and then we'll see a button appear at the bottom to run the audit scan. As we fill out each section, the cloud account integration and nodes we want to scan, the profiles we want to use, and the timing of the scan job, we'll see a drop-down in each of these three sections as we come back to this page with the selected details. This is exactly what we're talking about when we say a customer journey or experience. The ability to do a common task, like set up a cloud compliance scan, in a straight path with minimal or no pre-configuration required. We don't have to go anywhere else in the application to set things up. Let's start by adding a cloud account under Add Integrations. On this first panel, we'll give our compliance scan a name. That way, the wizard will remember our settings in case we need to rerun this job later by either reusing or modifying this configuration. Since we're working with a cloud account, we'll select either node managers that Chef already knows about, or we can enter credentials for a new subscription here. We'll just continue with the detected AWS subscription in US EC1 and let the page detect which nodes are available for scanning. That would be EC2 nodes with the Chef agent already on them. If we wanted to remotely scan nodes, we could select API-based discovery. Just as a note in this demo, the data is live from a test automate and Chef server we have set up and is brought back through a service layer in our micro front-end applications under the same security credentials we set up earlier, representative of a normal production environment. The APIs we are using are from Automate and are documented online under the compliance endpoints. Now that we see our available nodes, we'll select a few of them and return to the wizard screen by selecting Done. Now that we've selected some nodes, we see them in the drop-down here, under the caret. We'll use this screen to discover and select profiles to use in our scan. If our local supermarket or Automate server has some pre-populated, we'll see them here, but we may actually want to find available profiles we've not yet downloaded or made active. So we see a few actions we can take to find and apply these profiles for our cloud scenario. The top section shows which profiles are already on the server, ready to execute. We'll select a couple of these for this run. In the lower section, we'll see available profiles from content sources like local and public supermarket. We can click on the ellipsis, oh, I love saying that word, the three dots to the right to download a profile to our workstation. Or just select with the checkbox on the left to upload the profile directly to the Chef server for use. So we can select a couple of these also. We'll click Add Selected to return to the wizard screen once we've picked the profiles we want to use on this run. Now we have the required parts of the scan selected. Remember, we can modify these selections here by opening the drop-downs. We see that the Run Scan Job button is enabled now, which means we can use our configuration to start a scan job right now. We also have step 3 of the wizard, where we can open the panel and schedule the run to occur once or on a recurring basis, and at some time in the future. We'll just click on the Run Scan Job button to execute this now. We'll wait for that to finish, and once all the nodes have reported their status, we'll see a new notification in the upper right corner by the bell icon, and we'll know our report is ready. So our scan finishes, and clicking on the notification will take us to the scan results. This concept screen is just one example of a detailed view of the compliance scan results, showing top-line status of the whole set of nodes, and tabs for slicing and dicing the specific results. We're experimenting with a few different layouts for this, which differ from what Automate has today, and we'd certainly love to know what you think. This really completes our cloud compliance journey, and hopefully what you see here is that in only a few clicks and no side trips to other parts of the application, we can actually start with a very minimal configuration, select which cloud assets and nodes we want to verify compliance on, and how we want to do that, i.e. which profiles are involved, and get straight into an actionable report. The new user interface is designed specifically for these types of ease-of-use scenarios. Next, we'll show some of the other parts of the user interface which apply to all the micro front ends we will develop, some of the personalization, theming, and developer tools. Here on the personalization settings page, we've put a few concepts we're trying out for Chef developers, custom micro front ends, and end users and operators. We'll just click on the menus from the bottom to the top to show what we mean. The first one we'll visit is really for developers, an API test page. Right now, this is on the administrative menu settings link, but it may end up being its own test application. On this screen, we can point to any of the server APIs, Automate, Chef Server, Habitat, in the TypeScript's shared library, very similar to how Postman would do this. We can create queries against live servers using the security mechanism specific to each. The library handles this for us. Here, I'll select Automate Get Info Servers endpoint and click Send. The list of servers in the environment is returned as JSON from the microservice below in the response area. We're using a live Automate Chef server in AWS for this demo. Originally, we developed this for testing purposes, but realized how useful it might be for partners and customer developers who might be integrating different server products to leverage a pre-built service library and integrated security, even though they may be working in non-Angular environments. Say a developer is working in React, she or he can still use our services library, and they would only need to know the endpoint they wanted from the API documentation page and what sort of domain object they wanted to get back. No need to code an HTTP client, two-factor login, or handling secrets. Next, we're going to take a look at one of the features we need both for personalization and for the micro front ends themselves. Back on the settings page, we'll select Menus. This toggle allows the user to customize something the micro front ends also can do programmatically. That is, switching between menu layouts. A user may prefer to see only a left navigation menu instead of the top toolbar plus the left navigation menu present in Automate. This gives us a chance to refactor the journeys that users take through the application, making it simpler and more obvious to a new user where they may start, while still maintaining compatibility for users familiar with how Automate is structured. Similarly, if we create new micro front ends, some may be designed to have seamless compatibility with Automate, whereas others may be designed to be fully responsive with minimal cron. The final personalization is really about user choice and adaptability. The Themes section will allow the user to select between the standard Automate theme and the new Chef theme, green instead of pink and orange, or other custom themes. For each, we'll be able to select either a light palette or dark mode. Though it may seem trivial, this paves the way for more extensive personalization in the user interface, persisting styles, localization, and accessibility. We'll select dark mode here on the default theme, and though there are multiple front-end applications at work here, we'll see that each application adapts to the user's preference. All of these micro front ends are designed and built to ship in containers as well. Each of the micro front ends, Compliance, Automate, can be optionally configured to be on a separate port or even URI. Another benefit here is that the user interface can evolve separately from the back-end services. We've decoupled it, adapting to what a customer may have in their license, spanning versions of new core platform services. The container gives us an excellent way to ship multiple pre-configured user interfaces fit for purpose to observe the back-end services and servers. This is the end of our demo and leads us back to some closing slides to wrap up our discussion.
So maybe now is the time to ask, what exactly is a micro front end?
A micro front end is a fancy word for an independent web application. This is a bit of an eye chart, even the simplified architecture, but what we're basically showing is how the micro front ends can be composed of other front ends and can leverage two new libraries we've built as part of this project. The top boxes represent big applications, something like Automate, that works with many back-end applications and can consume user interfaces from those other applications. In our demo, we showed the micro front end shell, which includes separately published front ends for compliance, infrastructure, and builder. A similar shell could be built, let's call it Workstation, which dynamically looks at which products are licensed and lights up the micro front ends for those particular products. Maybe Automate, maybe Chef Server, maybe a new environment administrative user interface, maybe even a new product. At the next level down, these are also micro front ends, usually for a set of journeys aligned with a single backend API. So something like Compliance or Builder standalone. These true micro front ends can ship independently and plug into the aggregated shells so that our demo shell realizes that the Chef Server team shipped a brand new micro front end for their services and automatically updates just that one component for customers who want the latest bits. Below the line, we show two libraries provided: components for domain objects and services for interacting securely with the API layer in Chef products like Chef Server and Automate. A component is one of those things that John was referring to earlier, an atom, like a kendo button, a molecule, an organism representing a domain object's HTML representation. This lets anyone using the component library be able to pick up the default and themed views of common objects like nodes, scan results, and use them on their own pages and in their own applications. The second library, shared services, allows these micro front-end developers to consistently and securely access the back-end APIs to all Chef products and the new platform services we're developing, like telemetry and user storage.
So if I heard this correctly, I might have a component like a cloud account picker, which is an organism that you could drop anywhere in your app?
Absolutely, and you do not have to do any development of first-class objects in the Chef library. You have a model, an API persistence mechanism in the shared services, and the view in the shared components.
You mentioned themes and styling. What's the plan there?
Out of the box, we're going to have two themes, one that looks like Automate and one that has the new branding that we showed today. We'll have light and dark mode for each of those, and then it'll be extensible so people can create their own.
You showed this in containers. How does that help?
We'll release on both virtual machines and containers, but containers really are the easiest way to get innovation out to our customers, simply because they'll be pre-configured with any prerequisites and dependencies. They'll be exhaustively tested and literally take a minute to install or upgrade.
And will we be able to use this for more than just the cloud compliance journey?
Yes, let's look into our crystal ball.
Along with our user experience team and the help of our partner community, we now have the capability to ship a variety of single-purpose, domain, and even cross-product user interfaces. With this efficient process, we can now deliver designs quickly to the engineering team for faster implementation. This enables our teams to ship faster and have a more specific value in an easy-to-use interface. This also allows our collaborators to leverage the shared libraries and to do new integrations outside of the Chef product portfolio to find their own value cases. So where does this go from here?
We've shown a bit on the cloud compliance journey, and the team is almost finished with the core libraries for Automate and Chef Server. So we're pivoting to some new journeys and more multi-product user interfaces shown here. The first one on the list is the most important right now. More cloud, more CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management, more cowbell. Just kidding. We have a number of what we're calling core services, the platform, if you will, coming online in the next year, so there will be some work there as well. Things like user management, easy environment deployment, and simple things like telemetry. We'll also have a launch in the hosted space, and some good innovation on the Chef Workstation team. These are all opportunities we're estimating right now.
So you told me to hold my questions on whether customers could use these libraries to build their own user interfaces.
Well, that's the last bullet on here. We're still working through some of the mechanics of how we release this, so I can't give you an answer from a legal perspective. But we have written development guides for the various teams within Chef, so they're enabled to build applications which leverage these new libraries, both for single journeys and multi-application scenarios, and also use all the APIs that we support. What this means is we've been preparing for that case when we need to leverage the platform services consistently through the observability layer, whether it's a community developer or a Chef employee doing the work.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff in our small project. I just want to take a minute to thank folks for listening and watching our demo here, and for joining us at ChefConf. We're at the end of our recording part, so we'll see you in just a few seconds in the live Q&A.
Yes. Thanks to all our Chef Conference participants. We'll talk to you soon.